Hi, and welcome to the next video in our series. I'm Shelley Rowe, and today we're going to start our conversation about overthinking decisions. Recall last time that we talked about the cognition-intuition balance model for effective decision making, and I introduced the term infotuition. Infotuition is the concept of balanced decision making, where for complex decision, you balance inputs from your brain and gut, cognition and intuition, thinking and feeling. Today we'll focus on one of the ways that you are out of balance in your decision making, overthinking, up here in this quadrant. This is where we're trying to purely think our way through a complex decision. We get stuck, we hesitate, we procrastinate, and we ruminate. We're out of balance. Overthinking is not a productive way to make a decision. It wastes time, energy, and it results in stress and lost opportunities. In order to stop overthinking, we need to recognize when we are overthinking it. And we'll learn today about what's happening in your brain when you overthink. First, remember a time when you or someone you work with overthought a decision. Go ahead and think about it. What was that like? How did it feel? Maybe you found it frustrating, exhausting, stressful. It's kind of like a dog chasing its tail. So let's identify some of the early warning signs that you are overthinking it. I'm going to say some phrases, and as I do, think to yourself if that phrase resonates with you for any reason. Maybe it reminds you of yourself or someone you work with. Okay, ready? Here we go. Oh, this is just taking way too long. Ever heard that one? We're making this harder than it has to be. You know, we have been talking about this issue up one side and down the other. Let's just make a pro and con list. Now maybe you recognize this next one from your work with boards or executive teams where you've done a lot of analysis and you're presenting the results. And then they say, okay, we've looked at all the data, but I think we just need one more piece of information. Ever had that happen? Or how about this one? We have been over this again and again and again. See, our first point for today is to recognize when you are overthinking it with phrases like those. Now, if you have been over it again and again and again, then why can't you make the decision? Have you ever noticed that there's a little nagging feeling that holds you back? I mean, if you were comfortable, you would have made the decision already. But there's something holding you back that makes you uncomfortable. As it turns out, that nagging feeling is the key to stop overthinking. So next, let's take a look at what's going on in your brain when you overthink. Now remember back to when we created our brain model, the one we created in your hand and our circle diagram. So let's do a brief refresher because this is a really important concept. So here's the circle diagram with the three basic brain parts. Now the middle, like the palm of your hand, is the reptilian brain. It houses memories or file folders that include your values, your habits, your expertise. This is all the stuff that makes you, you. This part of your brain is very fast and it takes little energy. Now the thumb represents the limbic system or your emotion center. It includes the threat and reward response. Now the fingers represent the neocortex, the newest part of the brain. It includes logic and language as well as working memory. Now this part of your brain is slow and it takes a lot of energy. Okay, so with that background, what part of the brain do you think is the most active when you are overthinking it? What do you think? If you said the outside neocortex, you're correct. In fact, the researchers tell us that when you're overthinking it, this part of the brain is so powerful that it can shut off the subtle signals coming from other parts of the brain. Now, as I mentioned, the neocortex also includes working memory. Working memory is like the RAM in your computer. However, research also confirms that working memory only holds about 4, maybe 7 concepts at a time. Now, as you struggle with that complex decision, it likely has way more than 4 concepts involved because that's what makes it complex. You can't make that decision with only this part of your brain. That's why you get that stuck, frustrated feeling. But thankfully, you also have file folders in this other part of your brain. Lots and lots of file folders. So imagine that there's this little librarian who lives in this inner part of your brain. And that librarian's job is to go through all of your file folders and find the ones from your history and experience that are relevant to this decision. And the librarian finds some. But the librarian is in this inner part of your brain. Your language center is in this outside part of the brain, where the librarian doesn't have access. So the librarian tries to contact you through the little nagging feeling. That little nagging feeling is bringing some of your very own wisdom, and it's trying to get through the din of noise of your constant thinking. Now, unfortunately, we have learned or been taught to shove away that little feeling. There's no place for feelings at work. That's actually not possible, and it's unwise. If you shove away the nagging feeling, you shove away part of your intelligence. So now you know where overthinking comes from and where the little nagging feeling comes from in your brain. And that's our second point. Overthinking uses only part of your brain power. Next time, we'll look at how to access and also take advantage of the information that the librarian brings from the other parts of your brain. For now, simply start becoming more aware of when you overthink it and try to recognize that nagging feeling. That will be a great start for the next module. I'll see you soon.